Good afternoon, everyone. If you have seen many of my videos, or just a few of them, or just one in particular, I looked into the why we do certain content to see if it's worth doing. Some of us are too busy to do it, some of us have a lot of time but don't want to spend a lot of time doing something that's not as worth as other things. This was done, this video, in Phase 1 of Legion Remix, and we just looked at Trial of Valor and Emerald Nightmare. And what we found is that Trial of Valor, even though it gave less overall moats because there were less bosses and also less infinite power, we learned that it does per hour give way more than Emerald Nightmare. And that's because it's very fast, the distance between bosses is also very short, and also some of the bosses just die instantly. Gwarm, for example, just feels like it's a glorified ad in the middle of the raid. And basically what we're looking into this video is similar content. It'll be a little bit shorter because there's less to go over now that we've talked about everything in the previous one, which I'll leave in the description for you if you wanted to look into that. But for this one, we're going to be looking into Phase 4 content. All of the raids that are out, I made sure to run them all on Mythic at least once or twice to get some data, and we're going to go over that to see what is worth doing, if everything is worth doing, or if just specific content is worth doing. Ultimately, it is up to you, but having an informed opinion is something that's really important. One very important thing to consider is that versatility has gone up a considerable amount, on average, since Phase 1 was out. And I made sure to rerun Trial of Valor and Emerald Nightmare because, well, back then the average was probably 100, and now it's probably closer to 300 to 600 depending on your group. Some groups, you don't even need other people in there. There's someone that runs up to the boss and insta-kills it. With that being said, I think it's time to look at the data and get a little bit of information regarding what's been changing with the patch. I do have a comparison on my spreadsheet as well, so we can kind of compare what happened before and what's currently happening now. Alright, here it is, the ultimate release of information. One thing you'll find is on the top left corner, I included an average prep time. This was not included for the first study, and so you'll notice that the time still gets shorter within the second video. However, I did not include the extra 3 minutes on average it took to form a group, and some of these groups, including Antorus specifically, took a full 4 minutes to form a group, and that's from me joining the group until we downed the boss. I included all of that time. The first video, I just started from the first pull, maybe there's trash, I included the start from the trash, to finishing the dungeon or raid. So what we are learning from this is that even though I didn't include that time, it got way faster in the last few patches here. The average gear did go up, and we can kind of just get a general idea that it did just by reviewing how quickly we are completing these. Emerald Nightmare time was the same, even though it took an extra 3 minutes to start a group on the right hand side, which means it took us 3 less minutes to complete the entire instance. It usually is a bit slower than the average raid, and that's why it has a lower infinite power, but that's the first thing that we wanted to consider when looking at this spreadsheet. There is one other really important topic that I wanted to cover since it is new in the last few phases, so let's jump into that too. If you had reviewed the full spreadsheet, one thing you have noticed that wasn't a raid was Centinax. Centinax farming is specifically you just running around killing mobs, usually with a group of folks that are like-minded and are all near each other at different portals, just to loot how much infinite power drops off these things. The main downside of Centinax farming, other than it being a little bit boring, is that it takes a really long time to loot things. When you loot 70 mobs at once, you'll find that the loot table takes forever to load everything. I know some add-ons can assist with this, but even with those add-ons, it does tend to lag the game a little bit and even delay your moves. And it could be because there's so many different assets in the game all in one location. I'm not entirely sure, but that's the main downside. The main upside is it's not a raid, so you can always keep farming it. I'm just going to show you quickly how you can get started. The first step is going to the Broken Shore, and the really nice thing about that is you can see Dalaran is right to the west of it, so you just fly on down and you're already there. Before you begin, just know that they might have an expectation for what item level you are. They don't really care if you don't have a specific versatility. As you can see, they don't request that information. Just on the bottom one they did, but you need a group of 5 or 4 to do this. the less there are of you, the less loot you get. So ideally you have 4 or 5. 4 would be so you can share drops with another group. Groups of 5 is specifically if there aren't many groups in your area or all the other groups are groups of 5, because you actually gray out mobs if you're in a group of 5 and you tag things. If you're in a group of 4 and tag things, other groups, or at least one other group of 4 specifically, can also tag it too. If you haven't joined a group, or your group is not at the physical location yet, you can find where the Centenax event is happening just by looking for the Centenax in the sky. It's a big old fell ship. You'll see it pretty easily. When you join a group for Centenax farming, there are a few things to consider. One is that if you only have melee people, they're not really going to control multiple portals at once, unless they're right next to each other. And then also Centenax locations, they can also be very far apart from each other. And so if your group is going to a Centenax location and you find that most of the portals are separate, the timing to loot between them takes longer and longer. And then also, even if you're ranged, you're going to be around less and less of these portals, which equals less loot. I have heard of rates being up to 1.9 million infinite power per hour, and that's really good. I mean, that would be on par with some of our better ones. And then also, since it's farmable, it would even be greater than those because you can do it all day long. You don't just have to do it once and then be done for the rest of the day. Here is the ranking of which was the best, which was the worst. One thing I will mention is Centenax farming. It could range between, we see it on here as the second to last. Based on other videos, they're saying 1.9 million. That would put it at third. One personal opinion is that the Nighthold is an exceptional raid for farming. The team that I had was about average. Tomb of Sargeras, for example, where they were overgeared, so we were flying through there, bosses were dying in like 6 seconds. Not even kidding. And it was extremely fast. Antorus, another point to be made, is that you can't really compare it to the others at the moment because the average versatility is going to blast up now that Antorus is out, because you get a lot more versatility for just one run of a raid than other raids, and so the more people to run Antorus, the higher the average versatility will be, which increases the rate of which we run. And I noticed there were a lot of alts in my group, a lot of people who were way undergeared, so that can also have an impact. And then also, Antorus was the longest group to create as well, so the additional 4 minutes it took for this group to form also adds on and contributes to this. Antorus is hard to get to, so I imagine that has something to play with it. However, one thing I wanted to mention, just as I did in my last video, this all matters based on your opinion. If this is something that works for you, you just want to get into a run with something, get over with a run, and collect a prize, that is something I could definitely advise to do. Go run all of them. Emerald Nightmare? You might want to just boot it out. Trial of Valor? It's worth doing if you think the speed is really good. It's not worth if you think that you're going to be running through it and you're not going to be satisfied with the 100 and some mementos that you receive in just one run. Actually, less than 100. And so it all matters to your time, how you use your time, what kind of time you're willing to allot to doing content. If you don't like trekking from one raid to another, it's all greatly impacted by you and your opinions. And all I wanted to do with this video is to give you a brief bit of information regarding my experience with raiding. I would say I'm probably going to do them all except Emerald Nightmare, specifically because Il'gynoth just takes forever to kill, and also that stupid stick that we looked at earlier. That definitely slows us down a little bit too, but if you just skipped Il'gynoth, that might be worth doing as well. I didn't do a run or a test run with Il'gynoth in mind. I could form my own group and just skip Il'gynoth altogether. It does slow down the raid considerably, even though we're able to kill it earlier than usual, but yeah, I don't think it's worth it for me, so I'm probably not going to be doing Emerald Nightmare anymore on my main. There are two final things I wanted to go over in this video. The first is, please vote. I wanted to host a vote to see if anyone wants me to change my profile picture. If you like it, please hit no. If you don't like my profile picture because it doesn't really fit my thematic anymore, hit yes. And after that, we'll host other polls to decide on what my new profile picture would be, or at least what the topic would be. If you think that you might want to be willing to offer some form of artistic ability to assist me, that would be great too. I'd greatly appreciate it. And then one other final point is I really do appreciate all of my viewers. I I understand not everyone wants to hit the subscribe button until they get a good few videos in of a certain creator, or they just have a personal opinion on it, but I have a lot of viewers that aren't subscribed. If you were willing to subscribe to my channel, I greatly appreciate it. And I'd also greatly appreciate it if you have a great day. And also, if you celebrate it, happy Thanksgiving.